With Donald Trump suggesting he may send the National Guard into Chicago, there is a line now among Democrats about which cities in the United States are actually dangerous. This played out last night on Jesse Watters' Primetime with a guy described as a white dude for Harris. Here's Jesse Watters.
Donald Trump doesn't have any urgency to deal with Louisiana, which is the murder capital of the United States. He doesn't have anything to say about Oklahoma, which has the worst schools in the nation. Doesn't have anything to say about Arkansas,
Mike,
which has the highest teen pregnancy rate.
Those are crime-ridden, too. Those are crime-ridden, too. And if the mayor wants to invite Donald Trump to go in there and do it, Chicago's a little bigger than Baton Rouge, Mike, okay? And you live in Chicago, and you should care. Did you hear my friend out there in the monologue talking about her cousin, her uncle, her niece? They're all dead, Mike. Do you care about that at all? Your mayor doesn't care. Your mayor doesn't want any backup. They're offering him more cops, more guard, and he says, no, more housing. What the hell's wrong with him?
What is wrong with them? What is wrong is they are caught in politics. They believe that Donald Trump is doing this all for politics, and they believe that the correct political response is to point out the violent crime rate of cities and states across the country that vote Republican. Gavin Newsom has done this as well. Gavin Newsom on various occasions has taken on cities and states run by Republicans. Here's an example. A fact that you won't see on Fox News. Mississippi's murder rate is 266% higher than California. That's a tweet from the Gavin Newsom press office. Let's take a moment just to address Gavin Newsom and his social media presence. The left currently thinks that he's spinning out pearls by mimicking Donald Trump. They think it's the most hilarious and treasured piece of politics and performance put on in the last several years. They think it's perfect, and it makes him the fighter that they have wanted. By the way, Gavin Newsom's poll numbers among Democrats have correspondingly gone up. But every time that we point out it's cheap, it's shallow, it's Chat GPT, it's a man in search of a personality, a man that has no political identity, they think we don't get the joke. I call it copying. They go, it's mirroring. How can you not get satire? Everyone gets what he's doing, but nobody thinks it's as beautiful and these perfect little pearls of politics that you think. But you think so because you've defined your entire existence as anti-Trump. And these tweets are simply satirical anti-Trumpism. Gavin Newsom has also tried to pivot and point the finger at Republicans when it comes to crime. Let's take him up on that challenge. Here are your top 10 cities in the United States in terms of violent crime rate. Memphis, Tennessee, far and away, 2,500 violent crimes per 100,000. Detroit, Michigan, number 2. Baltimore, Maryland, number 3. Houston, Texas, number 4. Nashville, Tennessee, 5. Denver, Colorado, 6. Washington, D.C., 7. Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, 8. Indianapolis, Indiana, 9. And Phoenix, Arizona, 10. Those are your top 10 cities in the United States in terms of violent crime rate. What do they all have in common? Every single one of those cities is run by a Democrat mayor. Want to play the game of politics? Want to play the game of whose policies are actually being implemented at the city level? The city level, which is the most important political entity in addressing local crime. In fact, I've only just begun. We can go down to the top 20 cities in the United States. Every single one run by Democrats. Want to go down further? Want to go down to the top 30 cities? Now you can actually get 3 where the mayor is a Republican. Miami, Jacksonville. Oh, and Oklahoma City actually comes in at number 31. If we expand it even further and we go down to the top 50 cities in the United States in terms of violent crime per capita, only 5 have Republican mayors. That is Miami, Jacksonville, Oklahoma City, Fort Worth, Texas coming in at number 36, and Plano, Texas coming in at number 50. The other 45 are run by Democrats with I believe 2 or 3 nonpartisan or independent parties in there. So 42 of your top 50 cities in the United States in terms of violent crime rate run by Democrats. That's not politics. That's the facts. Meanwhile, over in the Netherlands, they are now running an experiment in the 4-day work week. Right now in the Netherlands, your average worker works 32 hours a week. I read from the Financial Times. The Netherlands has the highest rate of part-time working in the OECD. Average working weekly hours for people ages 20 to 64 in their main job are just 32.1 hours a week. It's the shortest in the EU. It has also become increasingly common for full-time workers to compress their hours into 4 days rather than spread them over 5. Quoting somebody from the Dutch bank ING, the 4-day work week has become very, very common. I do work 5 days, and sometimes I get scrutinized for working 5 days. Now, what do you think? Do you think we should move to a 4-day work week? Here are the concerns people have expressed. Lack of productivity. How do you reschedule your entire life? What do you do with a 5-day school week? Well, the Netherlands in this experiment has found the following. Quote again from the Financial Times. For a start, it suggests predictions of economic self-harm are overdone. In spite of its shorter average working hours per person, the Netherlands is one of the richest economies in the EU in terms of GDP per head. That is because shorter working hours are combined with relatively high productivity per hour and a high proportion of people in employment. 82% of working-age people in the Netherlands were employed at the end of 2024. That's higher than the UK. That's higher than the U.S., which is at 72%, and the European average at 69%. What more, the Dutch working longer in their life, retiring later. 4 days a week, working longer into their life, matching productivity. It's not all roses, though. There is a labor shortage in the Netherlands, most notably in teachers, and it puts some real strain on juggling schedules in the Netherlands. In how do you have, a workforce that what 4 days are they working, who's off when? The 5-day work week creates a structure that our entire society, from schooling to employment to childcare, is centered around. But it does show that it can work. Now, there's a quote in this Financial Times article that suggests, could the Netherlands have higher GDP if they actually worked 5 days a week? And there's a quote that said, yeah, perhaps if we worked like Koreans, we could have a higher GDP, but at some point, are we just workers? Is that all we are on this planet? It introduces an interesting question about what all is involved in life. Now, two-a-days and tinfoil Pat, you guys work 4 days a week, right? You don't have to work on Fridays.
Wow. That's really mean.
Yeah.
Don't appreciate that.
That's really mean.
we definitely work on Fridays.
Tells us that he works 12 hours a day. 12 hours a day,
Patrick,
7 days a week.
Yeah.
Right? That's what.
I mean, you can ask my wife. I mean,
I mean, I think we just go to 6 days. Let's push it forward, not backwards. What are you talking about? Productivity.
I've already been,
more.
Let's
go.
do that this weekend.
I mean, the Europeans do know something about enjoying life. They're just not going to put a man on the moon. They're not going to provide for their common defense. They're not going to have much to say if the Russians invade. They're going to look to us. They're going to eat well. They're going to relax. They're going to take month-and-a-half-long vacations in the summer.
Great relationships.
They have multiple holidays throughout the year. They work 4 days a week. It's a nice life as long as you got somebody else, that has your back. Like us? In the United States.
Yeah.
But I do wonder. The 5-day work week. Look, Americans are about productivity. Even though, look, we retire 72% of us in the workforce versus 84% for the Dutch. But we're about innovation. We're about the grind. We're about pulling yourself by your bootstraps. It's part of our culture. Like, it's more than just GDP. It's part of our culture. It's the Protestant work ethic. It's who we are. So, be careful messing with your culture and your identity. But the 5-day work week is a relatively modern invention, meaning in the past century or so. I mean, before that, it was 7 days a week or 6 days a week. You took off the Sabbath because that's what you had to do to get by. Then we get the modern school system, created in part by Henry Ford, based upon the German model that many people point out was designed to create factory workers for the economy of the early 20th century. And then everything around our lives is geared around the 5-day work week, our schooling system, the weekends, famously, that you've seen that brought to you by the labor union, 5-day work schedule. But if you are starting from scratch, I do think it's an interesting question. How much work is not just good for a balanced life, but actually maximum productivity? I mean, we all know there's a lot of wasted time at work. And could you be more productive in fewer hours?
I don't know what that is.
Well,
we're the exception to the rule.
I don't know about wasted time at work.
Yeah, we don't do that here.
We don't do that
You
here.
don't have any wasted time?
No, we don't do that here.
But I did have this discussion with a former colleague years ago, and he said that our companies used to
Everybody
factor
around
in.
Everybody around me is saying they have no time wasting. Everywhere I turn right now,
Absolutely
in
not.
studio, in New York, in Florida, everybody here is at maximum productivity.
Every
Go
minute.
ahead, tinfoil.
Every minute counts.
Well, I had this colleague that I used to work with at my past job, and he was discussing like how, it's actually factored into our productivity. Like he says, people only work about at 60% capacity most of the time, and that once you hit like 45 hours, your productivity just tanks. So I definitely think that there's something to that. But yeah, as far as our team goes, there's no law. We're at 95%.
Stop working 60 hours, Patrick.
Yeah.
Yeah, that says something about your efficiency. I think this is all going to be moot. By the way, AI is going to change everything. We're going to get more productive. We're going to need fewer hours, and maybe in turn we're going to be looking for work. I mean, we're going to be looking for things to do, looking for ways to make a living. I think a 4-day work week sounds fun, but I think we're going to be asking for more days, not less, in a not too distant future as AI takes all our jobs. And then finally, there's this. The case of the illegal Indian truck driver pulling a U-turn in Florida, killing 3 people, has given rise to a conversation about English language proficiency, commercial driver's license issued by the states of Washington and California, and the Department of Transportation's fight to ensure that truckers all can, at the very least, speak English and should be American citizens. It's a big issue that does impact people. You can hear people that live in high illegal immigrant areas talk about life on the roadway. But this is not something that would even occur to you if you're watching ABC, CBS, or NBC. From Friday, August 22nd, through Monday, August 26th, this past weekend, the total number of minutes devoted to coverage of this incident, 0. 0 minutes devoted to this issue, devoted to the policies put forth by the Department of Transportation, by this tragic accident. Meanwhile, the story of Kilmar Abrego Garcia, the alleged MS-13 gang member, alleged human smuggler, alleged wife beater, deported to El Salvador, got 17 minutes of coverage on ABC, CBS, and NBC. This story does not exist if you consume your information from the mainstream media. It may exist in your life. It may exist in your personal experience. It may exist in terms of your own individual outrage that this would be happening in America, but it doesn't exist to mainstream media. Hey, it's Will Cain Country. Don't forget to hit like or subscribe for the hottest takes in news, politics, sports, and culture.